Hey everyone, and welcome to our latest explainer. So today, we're actually stepping completely away from the noise of our daily routines. We're going to take this deep, really reflective dive into a remarkable 900-year-old spiritual discourse. Specifically, we're exploring an incredible piece of inner teaching from Shaykh Abdul Qadir Jilani, looking at his work called Jala al-Khawathir, or The Removal of Cares. It's a text that maps out the hidden landscapes of our minds and hearts with just incredible precision. So take a breath, settle in, and let's explore this together. To start us off, I want to pose a question that kind of cuts right through all our usual deadlines and daily stress. And that question is, what frequency is your heart tuned to today? We spend so much time thinking about what we need to get done, right? The emails we have to send, the meetings we're rushing to. But today, we're going to completely bypass those outer realities and just focus entirely on the inner ones.
And before we really get going, I want to explicitly mention that the beautiful reflections we're going through today were compiled by Mir Ali Shah. He's a seeker who generously shared these insights from a weekly study circle right on the Inner Horizon podcast. Honestly, we're incredibly fortunate to be able to walk through this beautifully curated material step by step.
Okay, let's get right into it. The entire fifth discourse of Shaykh Jilani's book is actually framed around this single, super penetrating question asked by a seeker centuries ago. The question is, what is a Khawathir? Like, what is a notion or a visiting thought? When a thought just suddenly pops into your head, where does it actually come from? Well, Shaykh Jilani doesn't just give us some dry dictionary definition. Instead, he gives us this brilliant ladder. He explains that thoughts don't just exist in a simple binary of good or bad. Every single thought has a specific origin, and those origins are stacked. Down at the very bottom, you've got worldly notions and passions. Just above that is the lower self. Then you move up to the angels, then up to the heart, and finally, at the very top is a notion belonging to the Lord of Truth, or the real. So the work of the seeker isn't to just, think harder. It's about clearing out those lower notions on the ladder so that the higher ones can finally enter an empty heart. And this brings us to a massively empowering realization. Seriously, it's a game changer. We are not victims of our thoughts. We are emitters. Shaykh Jilani points out that these notions are tuned to the broadcaster. Whatever your heart is most genuinely interested in, well, that's the exact frequency on which your visiting thoughts are going to arrive. So the thoughts showing up in your mind right this second, they're simply responding to the signal that you're sending out. So once we realize that we actually control the frequency, it leads us to the next natural question in this spiritual journey. If we're actively clearing out our hearts, what should we actually be seeking? When we raise our hands to pray or to ask for something, what exactly should we ask for? Now, most of our prayers, if we're being totally honest with ourselves, fall into the first category. We ask for worldly things, health, money, family, or we ask for things of the hereafter, like paradise or forgiveness. And hey, these are completely legitimate things to pray for, absolutely. But as the study circle notes point out, the absolute highest object of seeking isn't paradise itself. It's the one who owns paradise. It's this profound desire to just be placed at the door of the generous one. Just standing at the door is enough.
Shaykh Jilani anchors this deeply profound teaching in an incredibly intimate conversation between Musa, Moses, and his Lord. Musa asks Allah 4 separate times, "Oh my Lord, advise me." And 4 times, he receives this devastatingly simple instruction, "I advise you to trust in me and to seek me." Think about that. Allah doesn't tell him to seek the world, and he doesn't tell him to seek the hereafter. The ultimate instruction is to seek the Creator, not just the creations. This perfectly transitions us to the concept of spiritual poverty. The human condition, as discussed in the circle, is essentially the condition of a beggar. But here's the thing. There is a strange, beautiful grace to this poverty. We're beggars standing at the door of the generous one, who provides without even being asked. And what's truly fascinating is that as a seeker matures, they stop being a private supplicant. The mature beggar eventually stops just begging for themselves, and they start begging for others too. The intense need to be near him turns outward. Let's move to our next major theme and see how this all builds. If our hearts are tuned correctly and we're standing humbly at the door, another big question pops up, especially in our modern, hyper-connected world. And that is, when do we speak? When do we share our insights or our spiritual gifts? Or start teaching others? Shaykh Jilani offers a piercing diagnosis here that translates so perfectly to our modern era, it's honestly a little jarring. He calls out smooth talk, making your face look pale, hunching your shoulders, and pretending to weep. He says all of this curated humility comes directly from your lower self, from trying to gain worldly advantage.
I mean, just think about the on-camera tears today, the carefully crafted humble brags on social media, those sentences that start with, I am nobody, but this is literally a 900-year-old takedown of performative spirituality. And this brilliantly illustrates the real danger of public applause. Shaykh Jilani warns us not to bask in situations where we're being praised while our faults remain hidden. He introduces the concept of the hidden fault. And this isn't just saying, oh, I'm a sinner in some vague, abstract way. No, this is a specific, concealed flaw that, if it were exposed to the public, would entirely destroy the persona they're currently applauding. The true, genuine prayer of a seeker is, O Allah, do not disgrace me in their presence, for I have a hidden fault. Because of this massive danger of hypocrisy, Shaykh Jilani uses a strikingly tender metaphor. He says, not a chirp can be heard from you as long as you're still a chicken inside an egg. It's so true, right? We're often so eager to rush out and crow before our shell is even cracked. We desperately want to teach before we have been taught. But if you're still inside the egg, your natural constitution just isn't fully formed yet. You have to wait until you're explicitly told by a higher cue. Speak about the blessings of your Lord. Until then, your noise is really just a muffled bump against a shell. So what are we supposed to do while we wait in the shell? Well, Shaykh Jilani gives a rigorous instruction. You must walk forth in search of knowledge. Keep walking until your legs simply will no longer obey you. And when your physical strength finally gives out, the journey doesn't end. It actually begins again inwardly. You travel with your heart. You are only permitted to sit down when you are utterly exhausted, both outwardly and inwardly. True arrival, true nearness to Allah, only happens on the very other side of complete exhaustion. All right, now we pivot to the profound finale of this discourse. It brings the seeker face to face with the absolute ultimate reality of their worldly journey. I want you to ask yourself right now, what remains when all of your deadlines expire? The Shaykh ends with a hadith that details 4 angels gathering at the edge of the grave when a human being is placed inside. The angel at the head announces that possessions are gone, only deeds remain. The angel at the left announces that physical pleasures are over. The angel at the feet offers congratulations to those who earned a lawful livelihood and gave freely to charity. But it is the angel at the right that delivers a message with this unique, incredibly heavy resonance. The angel at the right says, Son of Adam, the deadlines have expired, only the hopes remain. I just want to let the weight of that statement settle for a second. The deadlines have expired, only the hopes remain. This specific announcement actually stopped the study circle dead in its tracks. Think about it. We structure our entire adult lives around temporary deadlines, don't we? The next quarter at work, the next big promotion, the next vacation, the next birthday. But the angel announces, with absolutely zero ceremony, that the deadlines are simply over. What actually crosses over into the next world is not what you accomplished on your calendar. It's what you hoped for. If you spent your years hoping for status, you arrive with that. If you spent your years hoping for the real, for him, then not is exactly what you arrive with. Which leads us to our final overarching paradigm. Faith, or Iman, is not a permanent nationality that we're just born into. It is a hosted province, and we are there on a visitor's visa. And a visa is conditional, right? It can be revoked. Now, this shouldn't cause despair, but rather it should inspire the manners, the adab, of a perfectly grateful guest. You don't put your feet up on the furniture of a host country. You walk softly, gratefully, knowing that tomorrow's visa might not look like today's.
And that brings us to the close of today's explainer, leaving us with this really gentle, lingering question to reflect upon. If you audit your hopes more carefully than your deadlines, what do you actually find? When all the noise fades, the public applause goes entirely silent, and the earthly deadlines finally expire, what is the shape of your heart's true wanting? Thank you so much for joining me today for this deep dive. Take this question with you and keep learning.